Pleasure to see you all here. My name is Adrian Green. I am a transformation artist with the National Transformation Initiative. Your regular host, Tahir Bulbulia, is not available this evening. I am filling in for him. Hopefully, I can do Tahir justice. Just want to say a welcome to everybody in the chat. Who am I seeing here? I'm seeing Cheryl. Cheryl, how you doing today? Judy Ann. Kay Goodridge. Welcome, Kay. I am also seeing Marion. Good evening to you, Marion. I'm seeing Martinette. How you doing, Martinette? Somebody called Phone. I don't think that's your real name, but welcome, Phone. Rachel, Trudy, Vicky, Vicky Ann, Marcia. So glad you could join us for the Conversation Corner, the NTI Conversation Corner. Hey, Trudy, welcome in, welcome in. We have a special show this evening. Every show is special, but this one is extremely special because we're dealing with a topic that has been really trending in the media recently. We're dealing with conflict, and what we're understanding is that there's a lot of conflict going around in Barbados today, which is leading to sometimes violent confrontation. And so the topic of conflict resolution from Reverend Anderson Kellman is quite timely, quite timely. A little bit about Reverend Kellman. Reverend Kellman is a counselor in private practice. He is the Senior Counsellor at Evergreen Associates, a company that provides psychological support for both individuals as well as companies. He has worked in the area of guidance and counseling, both in Barbados as well as Jamaica. He was involved in the Getting on Board program that was aimed at assisting at-risk youth. Mr. Kellman has worked extensively with adolescents in areas such as career development and managing anger. On the corporate side, Mr. Kellman, through Evergreen Associates, facilitates workshops such as managing stress, personal empowerment, managing different personalities, leadership, emotional intelligence, conflict transformation, and supervisory management. He holds a Master's of Arts degree in counseling psychology. Good evening, Reverend Kellman. How are you doing this evening?
Good afternoon to you and to the entire group. I'm doing pretty good. So good to be with you guys. Yes.
You have a bio that seems tailor-made for the National Transformation Initiative. You've made a career of helping people transform in various ways. Do I have that right?
That's correct. That's correct. That's my life's mission. That's my life's journey, to see persons maximize their potential and to become the best that they can be. So that's my journey.
And when you look around the landscape of Barbados, and in your years of practice, have you seen significant changes in the psychology of Barbadians and the way Barbadians are handling conflict?
Of course, I think that it's pretty clear that that whole sense of community has been challenged in a very significant way, and persons have, in some ways, lost that grounding in terms of the value of life and the sanctity of life and those nice things, nice on their words, but really persons just don't really care anymore. And so persons do not have any problem with dealing with the conflict, or dealing with the conflict by taking out one of the persons who's in the conflict. So there's a lot more aggression. And I need to be very careful though in terms of making that statement of aggression, because I think persons now have access to other ways of managing the aggression through the gun and that kind of stuff. But there've always been aggression in terms of stick licking and that kind of stuff. But in recent time, persons have more access to more lethal ways of dealing with the conflict. So yes, I would say there's more anger, more aggression, but also there's more access to those elements that can do damage.
So I think you're spot on with that. The issue is not aggression. We've always had aggression. The issue is being able to manage aggression and to keep that aggression in check, or to channel
Yes.
it in a positive direction, if I understand you correctly.
Yeah, and to be able, and I think that there used to be a lot more care. Persons, knew each other in much, in better ways. There was always those older persons in the community that were kind of, talk to younger fellas. I remember as a youngster, being what they would consider rude, and I got dealt with by the person I was rude to, and also by my parents, because there was that community kind of sense. But now this person sees stuff and they just ignore it. It's a call to me, and so that ability to kind of nip things in the bud, the other person is not there, and so things escalate out of control and can become at times fairly lethal. I mean, once upon a time we saw a fight and you'll see two or three persons come and stop it and part it. No persons here fight and come with their cell phones.
Mm-hmm. Well, you say that, right? But I remember being in school, and when there would be a fight, we didn't have cell phones in them days, but the chant at that time was usually something like fight, 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 fight. We weren't really rushing to stop fights in my day either.
But at least a teacher or two was stepping. I remember, because I was a guidance counselor. I remember there was a fight on the yard, and I intervened. I mean, I went out to the guys that were fighting and tried to stop these guys and taught some reason, some sense in these guys' heads, and when I got back into the staff room, I got a total action because the other colleagues said to me, they say, if you go out there, something happen to you, school is not going to take you very serious. There's no insurance. And so I said, so what do you do? Then they said, we see a fight, that the guys fight until they finish. I remember not very long ago either, I was going to do a workshop at a polyclinic. I'm not going to say which one, but when I got to the door, or close to the gate, a fight was in full bloom, to use that word. And I stopped and jumped out and tried to stop these guys from fighting. The guys were really fighting bad. And the security guard was there standing and looking. And he said to me, boy, I see this all the time, and I've become kind of like, inoculated against this sort of thing. I mean, I really feel like guys will kill one another, to tell you the truth. So there's a sense whereby, Adrian, that sort of, community involvement, stop things from happening. To me, that seems to be not there anymore.
So what I'm hearing is we got two issues. One, we are not dealing with conflict well when it is us involved, and we're not intervening when we see conflict going on as a community and helping to quell conflict. This is some deep stuff. But I know you have a presentation ready for us, and I'm going to allow you to share your screen pretty soon. I just want to welcome everyone who's entered the chat. We have a large gathering this evening. Obviously, this is an issue that people are interested in hearing more about. Good evening to everyone. This is the NTI Transformation Conversation Corner, the National Transformation Initiative Conversation Corner. My name is Adrian Green, filling in for Tahir Bulbulia. You will be hearing from Reverend Anderson Kellman on conflict resolution. Reverend Kellman is looking for an interactive evening and an interactive session. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Feel free to make your statements in the chat. I'll be monitoring so I can pass them on to Reverend Kellman in case he doesn't seize. But if you have a burning question, don't leave with it burning. Let Reverend Kellman put some water on it. Reverend Kellman, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir, and a very pleasant evening to everyone. And I think that Adrian has said it well, that we deserve for a very engaging, a very interactive session. And I will say this to you, though, that you bring your own experiences to bear on this evening's engagement, which are valid and valuable. And so I want you to feel very free to stop me, raise your hand. If I don't say it, Adrian will say it, and we will stop and we will kind of engage you, because that's what adult learning is about, being able to engage you, bring your own idea. They call it the Hegelian dialectic. You bring your own thesis, we create an antithesis, and together we create a synthesis, the best of both worlds, which is probably more practical and more applicable in terms of where you are and what your situation might be. I want to start, though, not with a presentation, but with an experience I had a few months ago. There are two of them, but one in particular I want to share. I was going to register a mail. I got to register a mail at the General Post Office. So I quickly got on my van, and I was getting a bit late as well too. I was getting close to closing time, so I rushed up the ramp at the post office, General Post Office, went into the building and got the mail registered, and then came back out. And on the way back out, I saw this gentleman, this male, and he said to me, his hands were behind his back. He said to me, "Do you know you just hit my car?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "When you get your van door touched my car, man. Man. He's very, very, very angry." So I said, of course, I said, "Sir, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize though." I said, has it been dented?" He said, "No." I said, "Has the paint been scratched or anything?" He said, "No." He said, but I vex though, I still vex. So I said, "Well, listen, man, I'm really, really sorry that I would have touched the car. If there's any damage, just let me know." He said, "There's no damage, but you got to be more careful, man, because someone will lick you." So I spoke to him very gently, and we both walked down the stairs together, both the wrap together, and I went to my van, he went to his car. And on my way home, I began to reflect on that engagement, because the door, he said, it may have been correct, touched his car. There was no dent, there was no scratch. But he was angry. And what I also realized as well, that his hands were behind his back. And he had a bottle in his hand as well, too. And I thought to myself, whoa, but that was really escalated really quickly. And think about it, though. Think about it, guys. He had to walk. If you know the ramp for the GPO, it's a fairly long walk from the car park. And he had to walk behind me. You see, he was calling, but I didn't hear him. And he said to me, he was really safe for me. Now, I don't know the guy, never saw him before. But I reflected on that, and I thought to myself, wow, he really was angry. There was no dent, there was no scratch, but he really was angry. I want to ask you guys a question, though. What do you think was happening there? What do you think was going on? I mean, talk to me.
It's funny you should use that story, Reverend Kellman. I had a period of time for about 2 weeks where people were constantly parking next to my vehicle, opening their doors and hitting my car and just walking off without saying anything. And in week number 2, a lady did it, and I flipped a little bit. I had no bottles in my hand or none.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
It was what?
It wasn't you. That thing.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you. I'm just kidding you.
No, it was me. I say it was me. I guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. I flipped on her, and the car wasn't damaged or anything, but I just felt like people constantly hitting my car. This was the last straw, and the lady hit the car, and I didn't feel as though she was apologetic enough. And I raised my voice.
You raised your voice. Okay.
I had a bottle, but I was vexed, even though the car was not damaged. And on reflection, my reaction was overboard, a little bit overboard, especially considering it was an accident. The car wasn't damaged, but it was an accumulation of things that led me to that point.
Right. So it was an accumulation. It was not just simply the event of that particular evening. It was for you all the stuff that was happening up to that point, an accumulation. And I think that's quite interesting, because we talk about the straw that breaks the camel's back. And in a real sense, what happened, for you, that was the last straw. For the entire week, this has been going on. I know you can do it, so you get everything that I should have given to those persons who may have done it before. So it was an accumulation.
Yeah, she got it. She got it for the rest of the people.
Yeah, anyone wants to chime in here and tell me what you think was happening there?
Anyone in the chat, feel free.
If you don't talk with me, I'm going to call your name. What do you think? What do you think, guys, may have been happening in that particular incident?
You may have to pick on somebody in the class.
All right, so Martinette Ford. Martinette, where are you?
Yes, please, Pastor.
What do you think was happening there? Talk to me.
I think, just like Adrian, it's an accumulation. Sometimes we are faced with, could be the simplest of accidents or incidents, but you just decide to blow a fuse because of something else that might have happened and had nothing to do with denting the car. It could have been the child's sick. It could have been some other thing at work, but it's just like one little thing just sets you off. That might have been that.
So Adrian said it was an accumulation, and you're now saying that it may have been the result of a number of other events in that person's life that all came to bear on that particular moment, when the person may have flipped, sometimes not even related to the particular event, but issues nevertheless that would have impacted on that individual. I think that sounds about correct as well too, that sometimes we can have issues going on. We can have them, repressed. It may be a relational issue, maybe as Martinette said, someone may be ill, the thorough of issues. But then something happens and boom, everything is exposed in that instant. Yeah? All right, anyone else? What do you think may have been happening there? And let me say to you that I on the way said the guy, I didn't realize maybe it was rushing, so I'm sorry for I'm touching your car. I'm glad that nothing untoward has occurred. And that was it. That was my posture. But what do you think? What do you think maybe going through this young man's mind? Do you think that maybe he was going through some of the issue? Do you think it was a case of values, that his car was important to him, and how comes you touch it? What do you think was happening there?
Not just that question, Pastor, but what if you had not responded the way you did? And you said, well, hey, my car was just a car. You probably would have gotten the ball in your head. That might have just been the momentum he needed to release whatever pent-up anger or, that he might have had.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is our response to situations that causes whatever results after that. Sometimes it could be, if we I guess take the posture, as you say, to be calm and apologetic, sometimes even take the wrong when we're wrong. That usually, as the words say, a quiet answer turns away wrong.
Right.
Yeah, soft answer, yeah.
Right. And I'm going to talk about de-escalation a bit later on. But I also want to talk about the issue of conflict resolution being the ultimate in control, taking control. Because you're right, though. I mean, that situation could have gotten out of control. That could have resulted in some kind of violent interaction. He may have, as you said, may have struck with a bottle, may have, had a knife or a gun or something else. I don't know, right? And the reality of it is that in that instant, I would have in some ways lost, in that I could have been injured, and the whole situation there would have been obviously would have been bent out of shape. Now I'm going somewhere here though, because I want to suggest, as we get going, that when we seek to resolve conflict, we're actually taking control of the situation and not allowing it to escalate beyond control, out of control. But the other thing as well too is that we're also preventing someone who is external to us being able to impact us in such a way that it prevents us from being able to achieve or end that we want to achieve. Because if I had, maybe just been very careless or just said, but made the garden get damaged, man, the painting get flayed, well, we're worrying about, that would have probably escalated the whole situation. And that, even rather getting home, it may have gotten hurt, and so the other thing though is that when you resolve conflict, not you take control, but you prevent persons from outside of you from basically impacting on your own personal journey. And that's very, very, very important though to understand as a philosophical position in terms of resolving and where we should resolve conflict. Now, I want to have a person talk before I share my presentation though. So Martin has shared, Adrian has shared, I saw Marcia earlier. Marcia, do you want to share what your thoughts? Marcia Clark, what are your thoughts, ma'am? She's talking to me. All right. Anyone else who wants to share?
I think maybe as you get into the media,
right. Okay. So let me just kind of this easy presentation a bit, then just come back. Right. Ask a few questions and come back here. Yeah. Okay. No problem. All right. So here we are. Here. So, all right, so here we are. So I'm suggesting at the very outset of this engagement that the conflict is neither positive nor negative. It's just a matter of our the diversity of our thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. So what I'm saying to you basically is that conflict is a very normative part of our reality. As a matter of fact, we'll go one step further and suggest that if we can manage conflict well, then it can basically deepen our relationships. And that means relationships basically in terms of our own personal connections, but also in terms of our personal, in our group, in our social group, because sometimes we can have conflict there as well too, and groups fragment and break apart, and can become very ugly. So it's just simply diversity. It's just really about the whole idea that we think differently, we have different attitudes, we have beliefs as well. Sometimes we have beliefs that are formed and shaped by our life experiences, and that sets us off in terms of the potential for conflict. Now, how we handle conflict determine whether it becomes negative or positive. And sometimes we know, as Adrian would have said earlier, that we are in a position whereby there's so much, shooting and negativity around, and of course that it is the result or an indication that persons are not managing their conflict very well. Separation sometimes occurs, relationship breakdown, divorce, not managing conflicts very well. Now I want to remind you that conflict resolution can create better ways of seeing situations and create new possibilities and alternatives that may not be there before when we manage the conflict effectively. So you have a situation, you know, where, let's say you're at work and you've always done things a certain way, and that way has worked, but it's different now. I mean, you have technology, you have the computer, you have all kinds of different things. And maybe, you know, someone says, but, you know, I don't want to do it this way anymore because there's a much easier way to write the rota than sitting with a piece of paper, you know, I write note each person's name and the days of the week. We can do it faster. But someone says, but, you know, we've never done that way before. Well, and so let's do it how we always did it. But no. I mean, true, we've always done it that way. Yes, that way has worked. But maybe this way is a faster way and a better way of keeping track and being able to manage the team that you're engaging with. Same in terms of personal relationship, husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. You know, we've always done it this way, but then, I mean, we've always done it this way. You know, maybe there's a better way of doing it. And so let's talk about it. Sometimes the issue is that we get so much in our comfort zones, we don't want to move from there, but it can bring new ways and different ways of achieving the same result. You know, it calls for self-examination. And that last bullet is a very critical one, though, because I'm going to show you a bit later on that conflict resolution can only occur when persons are willing to grow and to develop. You know, and some of these persons always keep saying, you know, we've always done it that way. And it seems as though that's a mantra, you know, and oftentimes persons are a bit slow to move because they've always done it a particular way. Well, let me ask this question before, and we're going to be kind of quick, but I want to get you guys into kind of a dialogue here. What do you think are the reasons why persons will often say, we've always done it that way, and there's a reluctance to moving forward? What do you think creates that? What is in people's minds that causes them, you know, to say that and to not want to change? What creates that reality in persons? What do you think?
And you don't mind if people type the answers in the chat, right, Reverend Kellman?
No. I don't mind. I want to tell what they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, what are the reasons that people
persons get stuck in that way, and for them, they don't want to move forward? What creates that?
Sasha Goodrich says pride and arrogance.
Pride and arrogance. Pride and arrogance. I think that's an excellent response, Sasha.
Ian says they do not want to step out of the comfort zone.
Comfort zones.
Martinette says fear of change and fear of
change.
failure.
Wow. Fear of change. Comfort zone.
People say we've always done it that way because it's the easy way out.
It's the easy way out, yeah. You see, the thing about, and I said earlier, that conflict will challenge us, and there needs to be growth, because the truth of the matter is that unless we are willing to examine our own beliefs, then we really cannot resolve conflict.
We have Tanya coming in with cognitive dissonance.
Okay, cognitive dissonance. Okay, that's a fancy term, Tanya. You know, of course, persons, you know, sometimes in terms of their own thinking, you know, they're caught between how it used to be done and how they want to do it now, and so sometimes they can't kind of resolve or they can't bring to some level of understanding, of resolution, two different ways of thinking or believing and behaving. So it does create that cognitive dissonance as well. What about fear, though? What about fear? You know, some of these persons don't want to change because they're fearful of perhaps where this change might take them. And sometimes, you know, as individuals, the unknown can be really, really challenging. And because we've always done this way, that's what's known, we hold on to that. But the truth of the matter is that The only constant really is change. So conflict resolution, it calls for self-examination. Now, here's the causes of
We have
conflict.
Lisa is seconding your notion. Lisa says fear of the unknown outcome, fear of using a different approach.
Yes. People can be very fearful. All right. Now, I gave you some causes of conflict: disappointment, feeling unfeared, values, and there are other causes. I mean, there can be issues in terms of persons who may have issues in terms of what they believe to be correct as values. Again, it may be an issue where there's a long-standing problem, and has not been resolved. Of course, conflict can occur from within and then become external. So there are a lot of reasons why persons can find themselves having conflict. Now, I want to talk though about the whole issue of the types of conflict. I want to spend a few moments here though, because I believe that this is really, really critical to resolution. And even in terms of what we see in society, I think a lot of this conflict begins from within. And I'm going to share with you an experience I had many, many years ago in terms of this issue of conflict. I lived overseas for a while. And I remember there was an incident where this guy was playing a game, with his compatriots. They were playing a game together, and it got a bit rough, and they played a game of football. Got a bit rough, and the guy got tackled, and he didn't like it very much. And everyone felt like it was over now, and he'd gone home. Everybody was going home, and he kept saying all the time, persons keep on filming all the time. People think it as a joke. People are always trying to hurt me. And the guys were just relaxing after the game, and he went home and got what we call a sickle. Came back and began to basically tear the guy with his sickle. Now, I want to answer what's happening here, though. In the same way that guy on the day of the car incident was willing to come up to the GPO vexed and angry, because evidently what I had done, according to him, was to spark something that was already within him. And sometimes persons who are in conflict can, because of their inward disposition, can bring to bear on the event all their pent-up anger and feelings and hurt, and can actually use that event as a way to get out or to vent all that frustration. And so the issue here, though, is how do we manage that conflict that is within? And I can tell you as a therapist, as a counselor, that, I see persons all the time who have internal conflicts, who are struggling with themselves. And those persons can oftentimes, end up being in conflict with other persons.
So this is deep, Reverend Kellman. You are saying that you want to start this talk about conflict resolution by talking about the conflict with self, the conflict
self-analysis, yes.
Self-analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where any discussion on conflict has to begin. Because if we don't manage ourselves, then chances are we don't manage our interpersonal relationship. So within then becomes between. So we're having a conflict, Adrian, between you and I, because I have a conflict within me. The guy who comes to me with the bottle, we're having a conflict between us, because as far as he is concerned, this man may care, and for the last 2 weeks, like Adrian said, first I've been hitting my car. As a matter of fact, I just got my car repaired because I was parked in the car park, and someone came and knocked it, and I had to repair it, went in my pocket. So not another fellow. So the inward conflict, the within conflict, then becomes the between conflict. And that conflict then can become that which occurs within the group, because you have someone in the group who's having some issue or some wants, and then the group have a conflict within them, within the group, intra-group. And then, of course, that can also result in the group also having conflicts with other groups as well, between groups. So there's actually a process here, a dynamic that's at work, that the within conflict oftentimes is what sparks even the within the group or the intergroup conflict. So unless we're able to understand ourselves and to manage ourselves, then that becomes for us a major challenge. Now, I want to ask a question though. How easy or how difficult is it to manage our own selves, our own conflict? Is it easy or is it difficult?
One word answer, people's in the chat, if you don't mind. Easy, difficult.
It is difficult. What makes it difficult though? And let me while you're thinking, let me give an example, right? Some years ago, again, I was living overseas, and someone came to have a chat with me. So of course we had a quick chat, and how you doing, blah, 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 blah. And then I asked her, so what brought you to me today? She said to me, well, I came because they told me that I got a problem, but I ain't got the problem, and you tell me to get it straight. I have no issue, people keep saying everything, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay. And her whole mannerisms, her whole response, her whole behavior was a clear indication that something was indeed off. It was evident to me that she had some sort of anger issue. But in her mind, that was not the case. What do you think? What do you think about that situation? Do you think that she was in denial? What do you think? Talk to me.
While people are processing that question, whether or not she was in denial, you have some answers to the previous question.
Yes.
Most people are saying difficult. Sasha says it depends on the situation and how long the issue was going on.
For
issue. Winnell says very difficult. We need to understand ourselves first. Many people don't. Sandra Rollins says it is difficult, especially if you have not done an honest self-analysis.
But my question, Adrian, though, Adrian, my question though is,
no problem.
Can you do an honest self-analysis? Or do we always weight ourselves or give ourselves a little bit of a blight when we do a self-analysis? I'm going somewhere here though, because the second illustration really is useful in terms of understanding what we're talking about with self-analysis, because as far as she was concerned, the world was wrong and she was right. And so my question is, how do we get there? What causes that?
Tanya says that the person is detached from reality.
Detached from reality. That's a strong word, Tanya. That's a very strong word. You detached from reality. Is it detachment though? Let's talk some more. Tanya, do you want to unmute your mic and talk to me? I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
She says she's not able to use the mic.
Okay, no problem. But detached from reality. Anybody else? What do you think? Denial? Someone's detached from reality? What else? What do you think?
Sasha says we all have blind spots due to
blind spots, man. Blind spots, Sasha.
Marcia says out of touch.
Out of touch. Sasha talks about blind spots though. Could you turn your mic on, Sasha? You guys are very quiet this evening. You know, what type of these blind spots?
She can't. She's not able to. She's not able to speak on the mic at the time.
Okay, all right. So we have a deal with chat. No problem. That's all right. So I think Sasha kind of you know caught the thought because and this is important though to this whole process of resolving conflict, because oftentimes we don't see in ourselves the reality of how we may be impacting on others. And you know, there's a whole theory in psychology called the attribution error, which I'm going to get into tonight. But all it simply says basically is that we attribute to others causation in terms of their behavior, and to ourselves, we oftentimes we go soft on ourselves. So it is you, Adrian, that is causing me to respond the way I'm responding. It is you, man, who just struck my car that's causing me to have this bottle to knock you down. It is you, right? And so what we attribute to others, you know, the reason for our own behaviors. And so oftentimes, because of that attribution error, we don't really see ourselves the way we ought to see ourselves.
Martinette puts it this. She says that our reality becomes the reality in all caps. We always think we're right and the other person is wrong. Most times we can't see the other point of view.
That's right.
Sandra says a willingness to grow is necessary, which involves reading and seeking the help of a counselor.
Or someone outside yourself who will be honest with you in that particular regard. You know, I remember as a young therapist, I worked with Dr. Bannister. She's now deceased, psychiatrist. And she said to me that self-analysis alone is like Mickey Mouse playing lawn tennis. He knocks the ball over, runs around, and knocks it back over. And she said, you know, he never gets better than himself.
I heard someone say one time that a counselor that seeks to counsel himself has a fool for a client.
Same thing. So the point I'm making here, guys, is that if you're going to develop real dexterity at resolving conflicts, then it's important for us to know ourselves and to have that awareness of who we are on the inside, because that will give us some indication as to how we're impacting on others. And that's okay, because we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. Yeah. All right. All right, so here are some different conflict styles, and I know that we have an hour, so I'm going to kind of hasten on a little bit here now. There are those who avoid the conflict. You know, there's those who, as far as they're concerned, not dealing with that. You know, and that can be very destructive. You know, there's those who will accommodate for them. You know, it is always my fault. There are those who it is not my fault. You know, it's your fault. Those who compete, and there are those who compromise. You know, let's do it half-half, and those who collaborate. Now, let me just kind of go through these just a little bit more, and then we'll move to some other good stuff. Now, watch this. The person who avoids conflict is actually nurturing the escalation of the conflict. So something's going on, you know, it is happening. You have the power to bring change, but you just avoid it. Don't deal with it, you know, and you watch it escalate, watch it get worse and worse until then it becomes so difficult to manage, you know, and so destructive that it creates a different kind of reality. And sometimes those persons who can also displace their anger. So I don't know what's going on in that guy's life on that day when he touched his car, but chances are he may have been displacing his anger for something else. As Martin said, maybe, you know, he had a fight with his wife that morning. Maybe he had a quarrel with his son or daughter. The boss at work probably bought him out, you know, and maybe that's been on for a while. And so this guy comes along, makes a straight mistake, and the anger is displaced on him. You know, I remember some time ago, someone said to me that they know whenever the husband has had a bad day at work, when he drives the car into the garage, see if he comes in nice and backs it in slowly and stops, he's had a pretty good day at work. They can hear every gear he comes in the street, and then he backs in and he slams the door, you know, and kicks his shoes off. They know that he's had a troublesome day at work. Display of anger. Okay, so the first conflict styles are those who avoid, and when you avoid conflict, it doesn't get better. It oftentimes gets worse. And then there's a combination. You know, those who give against their own will. You know, they know that they're not necessarily wrong, but they say, okay, I'm wrong, pray die for peace kind of thing, and they give in. And that also creates a measure of anger as well, too, because you know deep inside that this is not fair to you, but you give in. You give in. Yeah. And then those who compete, you know, those who believe that they're always right, you know, it is their way or the highway. They must always be on top of things. You know, those persons who you know, they don't listen to anyone, you know, this is how it is, and this is how it's going to be kind of thing, right? And those kind of persons, you know, they may get temporary complaints, but not real change or long-lasting change. Those individuals who have that conflict style, first artists will say, okay, well, yeah, okay, you have your way, but it's not going to lead to any permanent resolution. And then those who compromise, you know, give in and kind of stuff. But it's the last way I want to talk about a little bit more. Those who are going to collaborate, to talk through issues, those who understand the importance of the relationship, those persons who will take the time and the energy to work out the problem, you know, to process it, you know, to try to figure out what is the real issue here, you know. Those persons who are going to really engage to come up with some resolution that's good for all the parties who are concerned. Now let me ask you some questions though, because I want us to kind of to keep engaging here. Now, what do you think are some of the challenges that can prevent persons from moving to that point of collaboration? What are some of the issues that will stop persons from being able to engage in a way that brings about that win-win resolution? What are your thoughts?
There's some comments and questions in the chat which may be related, Reverend Kellman. There are some persons asking specifically about conflict in the workplace. Marcia says that sometimes you have no choice but to give in. And Martinette, I'm not sure exactly what she's referring to, but she says, is that real? I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Powerful questions. There are some
the conflict resolution side.
Right. No choice but to give in. And I hear that. And of course, my response to that is that there's always a choice. All right. Maybe the consequences of the choice are not too you don't want to deal with those consequences. But even if you give in, though, it can't be a constant way of dealing with the issue. And what I will say, though, is that in every conflict resolution style, there are times when it may be appropriate, you know, but the challenge comes when it becomes a normative and a persistent way of responding. So let's say, for example, you know, issues arise in your family, you know, a situation has come about, and you know that maybe this is a one-off situation. So you say, okay, no problem. Okay, go ahead, fine, no problem. And that may be okay. But if it's a constant issue that's coming out all the time, you'll respond the same way. Eventually, you're going to become very angry, and you're going to resent it, and also there's going to come a time when you're going to take enough. You're going to crack, you're going to break, and you're going to hit back. So my point, though, is that.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I was just going to say.
So my point then is that even though at times it may be okay, once it becomes a persistent way of dealing with issues, it can become very, very problematic. Now, Martinette is talking about the issue of collaboration, right? And yes, Martinette, you know, it is not what we do oftentimes as people generally, because we either compromise or we just, give in, forget about it, But the reality of it is that that's the reason why there's so many, fractured and difficult relationships, because we don't want to work to a solution. That's a win-win. It's difficult, Martin. It's challenging, and involve both persons wanting, to achieve. Now, let me also say as well, and I've said at the start, that conflict resolution works best when both persons are willing to engage. For example,
can it work if only one person is willing to engage?
It can work in that it can de-escalate the situation, but it may not necessarily preserve the relationship. Does that make sense?
I'm following. Definitely following.
Does that make sense, guys? Tell me. It may prevent the escalation, but it may not preserve the relationship, because when persons, give in or accommodate, oftentimes they can become resentful after some time. Yeah. So the point I'm making here, though, is that all of these styles are useful at some point in time, but there are times when sometimes if it's overused, it becomes problematic. Anyone wants to kind of talk about what makes collaboration so difficult? It's time consuming, as we mentioned before. Anything else?
Sasha has in the chat again, this has come up a number of times. Sasha Goodrich has pride is a problem, not wanting to think that you are taking the wrong, that you're accepting that you're wrong.
Let's talk about prayer a little bit, though. What is the basis? And Sasha's raised it a number of times, and we've kind of just glossed over it. But what is it that creates for persons that, or why is pride such a major issue for us? I want to go somewhere here. Is pride a way of protecting something?
I think, Rev, that a lot of the times we feel as though our image is protective. And if people have Sasha is agreeing, Sasha and I were on the same page. As I said it, she typed it. Image of self and status. We think that our image is protective, that our status keeps us away from certain problems. And if we were to accept the wrong in a situation, it affects our image negatively, and our status will lower.
So it's
a defense mechanism, according
to defense mechanism.
Yep.
Protection, yeah. And that's where we want to go, though, because pride is really what we refer to as a screening emotion. And what pride
what's
really
that word?
does,
what's that word? Screening.
So it's a protective mechanism, right? So if I said, you know what, I'm wrong, though. I'm wrong, Sandra. I made a mistake. Then, I look weak and vulnerable. I feel as though that I've failed. I feel a great sense of loss and shame and all kinds of different emotions. And so I put my chest in the air. I look as though I'm well in charge, and I say to you, it's not my fault. We're not doing it that way because that's not the way it should be done. And what it really is my way of trying to protect my fragile sense of self. So persons who are very proud are often at heart very fragile as well. We never get to see that because they push you off without veneer of pride. So Sasha, you're on target there. And oftentimes when you get those persons by themselves, you realize how really fragile they are, and how much they really need some support and that kind of stuff. So where should we resolve conflict? Well, I mentioned probably escalation before. Issue of violence, you might almost burst my head. Development of rage, of course, again, that's an issue there. I mentioned the element of control earlier, and the issue of toxicity. I want to go back to control, though, because I want us to understand that when we resolve conflict, we take control. But even more than that, though, what we actually do is to enter into some kind of resolution that allows us not only to solve the current issue, but to give us a greater awareness of the other person and ourselves as well, so as to prevent similar issues from occurring in the future. When we don't resolve the issue, oftentimes we give up on our own control. So I can talk big and bad, fellas start throwing some balls at me, and before you know it, issue has escalated, police called in, and someone is hurt seriously. Conflict resolution is taking control of the situation, but also is helping to understand the context better so as to prevent similar issues from occurring in the future. I'm going to mention just a few things very, very quickly because I know that we are up on time. And so if you give me just 5 minutes more, just want to mention a few things. Now, when we become angry, and we talk about the whole issue of the amygdala hijack, and all that simply means, that's an emotional intelligence term. What it simply means is that our reaction or our response sometimes can occur even before we think through the consequences of what's going to happen. All right. We sometimes act before we think. That's the emotional intelligence mantra. And so oftentimes when we want to resolve a conflict, I call it SOS: stop, breathe, and try to understand. Don't you say, but Kellman, that's impossible. When I hear hot man, I don't think that is so. I just want to deal with the situation at hand. But oftentimes we deal with it incorrectly because we are reactionary. I mean, we're not responding, we are reacting. And so in a conflict situation, it's always best to stop, breathe, and to answer what's happening here. I mean, I can't do the guy who came to me that I wasn't angry because I thought it was foolishness, really. There's no dent in the car, there's no scratch in the car. I mean, what's the issue? But my tendency may have been to respond offhand because but in that instance, I recognize that this could have escalated. And so I stopped, I breathed, to understand what was happening to him. And just as you said, Adrian, he said to me, man, you don't understand, man. People always finding my car. Don't care where I park it, man. People always finding it. So it was about the event only, It was about the accumulation, as someone said earlier. All the other stuff that happened before. You gotta stop. You don't have all the truth. You don't. And that's why taking positions are not helpful or healthy, because each person has a bit of the truth. I guess you guys would know the old limerick of the seven blind men for Hindustan, which trying to describe an elephant. One man said elephant is a classic creature. The elephant's ear, and this man said elephant is a long creature. The elephant's trunk, I mean, each blind man had his own view of what the elephant was, and he was in part right. It was also in part wrong. But together, they had the collective truth of what the elephant was or is.
There's a question in the chat, Reverend Kellman.
Mm-hmm.
Eugene is asking, what if you would like to SOS? You want to stop, you want to oxygenate,
breathe, just breathe, just breathe.
Breathe.
Yeah.
You want to seek to understand, and the other person is still raging.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do then?
But that may not be the best time to deal with the conflict. There are times where you have to kind of postpone the resolution until later, when heads have cooled, right? I tell persons that there's no rule of thumb that says you got to deal with everything now. There are times where you can, so you can't. So usually there are times where you have to say, okay, you know what? This stuff is really serious stuff here, and if I respond to it, no, I'm going to do the wrong thing, and I maybe postpone it, but never ever forget it though. You can postpone it, but not forget it.
I want to jump in here, Reverend Kellman, with something that the young fellas often tell me, and that is that when somebody goes off on you like that, you cannot simply walk away because you look like a punk.
Yes.
And if you do that, then you're gonna have problems with everybody because everybody can think that they could just talk you anyhow,
yes.
treat you anyhow.
Yes.
If you don't handle it in the moment.
Yes, because anger has become in our society a kind of a badge of honor, and I mean you go to the courts and see guys who are on remand for all kinds of offenses, and as they walk through court, people are cheering them. I've seen that so many times. People are cheering them because anger and badness has become now a kind of a badge of honor. And they would say, yes, that is true for a particular context. All right. And you have to show muscle, you got to show strength, you got to show you can be bad. Right. And yes, I agree with you, Adrian. But the point though with that is that it oftentimes leaves room for escalation. And I always say to persons though, person would think you're a punk if you walk away. True. But are you not maybe saving yourself from something untoward? I made 2 points earlier. One was that the conflict resolution is ultimate control, but also conflict resolution is ensuring that someone outside of you do not, in some ways, determine your reality. So, all right, so I don't, if a punk may talk with me all kinds of different ways, okay, no problem. All right, so no, I show bad. And begin an argument and they talk back and fight starts and I get mean. Someone outside of me has now determined my sphere of operation for the rest of my life.
Sasha makes a very interesting point, 2 interesting points in the chat. Firstly, she says, I am learning this principle. She's talking about the principle of not holding a position, keeping an open mind, and not running to judge the other person. I got to say, Sasha, this is one that I am trying to learn as well. It's very difficult for me as a person who has strong opinions. If I got a position, I feel as though I thought through that position long and hard, and you got hell to try and move me from that position after I put in the work to come.
But Adrian, as I was saying to Sasha as well, we never have all the truth.
Yeah, Sasha's agreeing with you. It's me as the hard head.
We don't. I mean, and we must always allow for that modicum. There's an excellent video. It's an old video though. Henry Fonda, 12 Angry Men. And if you get a chance, you can read that. You can read that. Watch that movie, 12 Angry Men. And it talks about a youngster who was on death row for murdering someone. I can't remember who it was, his father or something. So, and these jurors were all sure, except for one, he had done it. And the movie is really about the issue of conflict, how conflict can be useful, in terms of the give and take of conflict, the ability to hear and to listen and to realize that my position might be my position, but Is there another position? Is there the possibility that I could be wrong?
All right, so that's 12 angry men, but those are 12 angry men who are also willing to sit there and reason. But what people are asking in the chat, specifically Sasha again and Sandra, when you're dealing now with somebody who is not just angry, who is raging, Sasha wants to know how to bring up the situation later on, maybe when the person's cooled down, to bring a resolution. And Sandra is asking, should you stand quietly and just let them vent? Because sometimes walking away can be seen as a sign of respect. These are complicated situations.
Right. So I agree, and I think I had one slides later down, we should probably get to today, that walking away can also be a sign of disrespect. Right? Person can see you walking away as like, I don't care about you, kind of thing. So I think the issue is to give person a chance to vent, to get it out. Right? I remember on Hall when I went overseas that I would see these guys always arguing, and I would get a little bit scared because they can't do that sort of behavior. The men would be so into it, and the men would argue. They would get it out, you know what I mean? But it would never hit, And one guy told me when I first got on Hall, he told me, "Don't worry, Kelly, man. The men behave so, but they can fight, right? Because once they get it out, it can be hard, you understand?" And I saw it over and over again. So there's nothing wrong with keeping quiet, let that person vent, have the catharsis, get it out, right? And then deal with the issue afterwards. How do you bring it up? You bring it up by saying to the person, John, Adrian, boy, this morning we had a real serious issue here, though. You got really upset. What was happening, man? Let's talk about it. And I believe in the COVID principle, where it says, seek first to understand and then to be understood. Oftentimes, we want our truth to be known. And so what is happening is that the person is raging, and we are raging, and it begins, we call it symmetrical escalation. It gets out of hand. Stop and give the person a chance to share what their thoughts are, so you can hear what they're saying and have an understanding of where they are. Oftentimes, persons will accept our position or our point of view if we first give them a chance to share theirs. Let me say again. Persons will oftentimes accept our point of view or hear our point of view if we first give them a chance to share theirs. And I've seen that over and over again in my practice in working with groups. Where one person, I remember there was one group I was working with. I'm not going to share what the group was about, but it's a group of persons, and these guys were rage. But once they got it out, they then became amenable to a different position. We usually want to ram it down. And by doing that, we create a greater conflict. I share one experience I had, and then I'll move on very quickly, soon finish, right? Where I was doing some work with persons who were being retrenched. And boy, there was an anger in that room. And there was one lady who got so angry. I mean, she got out and raged for maybe I don't know, 4 minutes. And then dropped on the desk and went to sleep. Because she just had to get it out. Losing her job, she had to get it out. So there's nothing wrong, Sandra, to give a person a chance to get it out and then sharing our thoughts about a particular event or a particular issue. We oftentimes will gain permission to share our thoughts if we first hear the thoughts of others. Seek first to understand and then to be understood. You with me?
I definitely am.
We're connecting, guys?
I'm guessing by the active chat that
okay. All right. So the third one is look through their eyes, right? That's why I say we don't know the truth. It's so crucial and so critical, to hear person's experience, because the truth of the matter is that sometimes person may act in an irrational way to us, but to them it's just totally rational. because that is their experiential base. That's what they've survived, you know. That's what has been their reality all their lives. And so they come to the table, you know, with a certain perspective based on their life experience. So you got to look through the eyes of others. And there again, and because empathy also works. But just remember that that person has a truth you need to hear. Growth is necessary on both sides. Now, again, I'm sure that Martha will probably say about Anderson, so the person want to grow. Person want to grow. You know, there's nothing we can do with that. You know, we can grow though. Where we come to that place, to that point, you know, whereby, you know, we become so, you know, so growthful that perhaps what they're doing doesn't have the same impact on us because they've grown past it as well too. So that can also be a reality. But growth is necessary on both sides if you're going to resolve the conflict in a positive way. Now I can hear you guys thinking, but what about those guys who don't know about this stuff? The other one is a gun or a sword. That's their issue. You know, all this nice stuff sounds good, but you know, I see Sasha's
before you go, Reverend Kellman, before you go, Sasha has her hand up, so I'm assuming that she wants to unmute and say something.
All right, Sasha, talk to me.
Hi, good. So I have a question based on what you said earlier, because this is a personal, maybe beef of mine or issue of mine. I do not like people raging at me. I can't function. I can't think. My brain starts to shut down. I mean, literally shut down. So my thing is, I have to find other alternatives. So I am wondering, that's why I asked the question, can I say to the person, let us continue this conversation later so that we can talk about it at another time instead of somebody raging at me and my brain shuts down for, I literally blank out, literally. I can't think. My brain, I'm trying to figure out why, but I just can't function.
Yeah, you can't deal with that. Can't deal with that at all. Yeah. So I would say, Sasha, in that case, then it's very fine, you know, to say to the individual, listen, this is hard for me right now. Let's talk about it a bit later on. That's fine, right? And I kind of gain that person's agreement in that situation. But what I don't want you to do though is to just, you know, turn your back and walk away, because that can actually reinforce the anger, because the person don't feel rejected. They feel as though that, you know, they don't matter, and the escalation will occur in that particular regard. You know, try to, no, we can't do this right now. It's hard for me, and take responsibility for it. You know, don't say you making me shut down, because the other thing though is the, what we call the I words. You know, the I sentences. You know, take responsibility. You know, I am not handling this very well right now, and therefore let's talk a little bit later on. If you say you causing me to feel real bad, you know, and I don't want to do this anymore, then when we say you, that creates defensiveness and it escalates the problem as well. I don't feel very well. I am not handling this very well, and you take responsibility for it.
Sasha says, okay, she understands the message. And Imelda had a very similar question to Sasha. Imelda asked, what if we are not at an emotionally stable place to handle their outbursts? Where do we draw the line? Is that the same question, or do you have a different answer for that question? Reverend Kellman, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, okay. I thought I said Imelda. Okay.
No, I was asking you. Are you
right?
Would you answer the same way to Imelda's question?
Right. So I would say two things. I would say one is it because in Sasha's case, it's a perennial challenge. She just can't deal with it, right? My question though to Imelda would be, is it specific to this situation, to this person, you know? And if it is, then maybe it needs to be some intervention in that particular regard. If it is a normal reality in terms of you not being able to handle emotionally that kind of reaction, I would say like I said to Sasha, you know, take responsibility. I'm not handling it very well. Let's deal with some of the point in time. However, to both Sasha and Imelda, that perhaps you need to kind of begin to ask the question, what is it that causes me to shut down when persons rage? And there may be something that you've been through whereby someone raged before, maybe you got hurt, or maybe something happened, and you learned from that point in time that once persons are rage, I shut down to protect me. And so you got to kind of maybe ask the question, how did they learn that? Because every behavior that we manifest has its origin somewhere. You know, the whole John Locke tabula rasa theory that we are blank slates, and as time goes by, you know, our environment writes on those slates. So all of our behaviors, you know, I learned to some degree. But excellent questions, though, guys. Excellent questions.
Reverend Kellman, as you see, we are about 15 minutes over our time.
Oh boy.
And I know you were just about to get into talking about, so where the questions took us was along the lines of how do I handle my inability to manage myself in conflict? And you were about to take us into the realm of what about those persons who don't have maybe the skills and the willingness to manage conflict well, the persons who are raging. So I think we're going to need to bring you back on to have a part 2 to this discussion. If you're interested in a part 2 to this discussion and continuing this discussion, please put a thumbs up in the chat.
I shut my eyes.
It's a blind poll. But you know, and this has been really instructive for me, and it's not rocket science, you know, as they say, and it's things that we've heard before. Seek first to understand a soft word, turn it away rough, see it through the other person's eyes. But it's so difficult sometimes, and you're getting I don't know if your eyes are open or not, but you're getting a lot of thumbs up in the chat.
Right, but I also want to say, though, I mean, I want you guys to hear this message, though. Take it with you. If you remember, as I said, take it with you, that conflict resolution is the ultimate in control.
Conflict
ultimate in control.
Ultimate in control.
Right? Because what you're doing is that you are taking control of the situation and preventing it from not only escalating, but from also preventing it from being able to determine your reality. Because conflict that's unchecked can go in all sorts of directions and cause all kind of pain. So it's the ultimate in control when we resolve conflict positively.
So the way what I'm hearing you say, the way I'm translating it in my own mind is that conflict resolution is a superpower that I can develop.
That's right.
It makes me a more powerful, stable, and stronger individual. It's not just about resolving the conflict or pacifying the other person. It's about my own growth, my own strength, my own stability, my own power.
And if you take it one step further, it's my last point, that even as it relates to relationships that you're close, you know, intimate relationships, close relationships, friendships and stuff, it can also be a powerful vehicle in understanding the other person and deepening the relationship. And so I have a presentation called conflict transformation. And I believe that conflict, if handled well, can transform relationships.
Listen, Eugene says, Reverend Kellman, this session is very good. I am glad that I joined. I have a teenager that at times conversations could be very difficult. I have gained a lot from this session. Ade had her hand up for a while, Reverend Kellman. So I want to give Ade the last statement or question. Ade, are you ready?
Yes, I am. I have an attitude that if there's some person like to argue. So if you come here with argument, I will tell you, okay, if that's your argument, fine. But I'm not going to try to react. I'm not going to try to prove to you that we said is right or wrong, because you may not. There's some person who ain't interested in listening to this to discuss, because this is my way, it is my way. And if you don't accept my way, you ain't want to hear me. So those kind of persons, I know there's a particular person I grew up with my church. He loves to argue. So I would tell him, well, okay, all right, okay. And he gets vexed sometimes because he thought I'm not taking him, I'm not arguing with him. So he's mad because I'm not trying to correct him. I'm trying to put out my point of view. I just said, okay. So I wonder if that's a good attitude.
I think in some things, yes, but I'll also say to you that his anger is because you're not validating him in his behavior. You see, what he really wants to do is to engage him, to give him a reason to behave badly or to argue, right? So when you say to him, you know, I am not going to argue with you, then he has no basis for arguing. And so
Right.
you shut the man down, you know?
Of course.
It's like we went going to the car park one day, the sign was car park is full. I know every now and again you still fit a part in there. I went to the car park and the car park attendant began to quarrel bad. I said, Mom, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to go to the other side. I want to go straight out. And she got even angrier because what she really wanted me to do is answer her back so we can have a nice little argument, you know, a nice little fuss. So when I said to her, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm going to the other side, it shut her down one time and she became infuriated. So yes, that's what you're doing. You're not validating his behavior, and therefore he gets upset with you.
Reverend,
okay.
Reverend Kellman, this has been very interesting. The chat has been active. People seem to want more. I think we're going to have to bring you back onto the conversation corner at a later date to continue this discussion because I know that you have more to share. I just want to read Sandra Rollins' comment. She says, Rev, there are a lot of adults carrying tremendous pain and anger from childhood and do not realize it in their interactions with others, makes the workplace difficult to traverse at times.
Difficult.
I would have to say amen to that.
Yes.
You know, we all are carrying baggage that weighs us down and makes it difficult to maneuver. So these kinds of conversations on a corner like this is extremely important. I'm so glad you took the time to come and share your knowledge and experience with us. I want to say to those in the chat, if you can't wait till Reverend Kellman comes back, remember that nti.org.bb has a wash of personal development courses available for you. I'm sure you can find a conflict resolution course or two there. I know for a fact you can find several courses on emotional intelligence. Some of them are 1 week to 4 weeks long, a few hours a week. And I think these are things that we can develop. These are skills we can learn. These are superpowers that you don't have to be born with, like a superhero. You don't have to get bitten by a spider or get your power from the sun like Superman. These are superpowers you can learn and develop through study, patience, and practice. nti.org.bb, emotional intelligence. Look it up. I know they're there. I know they're helpful. Once again, Reverend Kellman, thank you so much for coming. For me personally, I know it has been powerful. I can tell it has moved persons in the chat. Many thumbs up that you have not seen because your eyes was closed. I know you're a man of integrity, so I know you would. You had some thumbs up in there in the chat, and we're looking forward to continuing another time. To those of you,
thank you, Adrian, and thank you guys for having me. Thank you, NTA.
For everybody in the chat, thanks you so much again for joining us on Conversation Corner and making this conversation possible. We do it for you. It's not possible without you. Keep coming back. Keep growing with the NTI. Keep growing together. This is a journey for all Bajans. On behalf of the National Transformation Initiative, I am Adrian Green, sitting in for Tahir Bulbulia. This has been the Conversation Corner. I can see you next month. And I tell you what I know, when I want to come back next month, don't take so long to get vocal. Start typing in the chat from early so we could get going and get the most out of the Conversation Corner hour. When I say, put an amen in the chat if you agree. Like winner, love winner, amen to you too, care. Conversation Corner is out.
All right, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Reverend Kellman.
Bye-bye.
Thank you too, Lisa.